Hey, Clint, did you know that some people can't picture anything in their mind's eye? It's called aphantasia.
Aphantasia. I did not know that, but I did see Aphantasia open for Pretty Girls Make Graves at the Warfield in 2005.
I wish I had aphantasia because then I wouldn't have to live with the mental image of a soft Lothark funeral.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
It's gross.
Push the button.
Welcome to The Mercy of Pods, the podcast about the Captives War series by James S.A. Corey. Every episode, we do a recap and close read of one part of The Mercy of Gods, the first novel in the series. Spoilers will abound for The Mercy of Gods, Live Suit, and The Expanse, so please pause this, go read all of those things, and then you can come back and unpause.
I think that's right. I don't think we'll be hitting too much Live Suit stuff in this episode, so you're probably okay, but you should read it anyway because it bangs.
My internal monologue is spoiling Live Suit all day, every day, so
all the time.
Sometimes it may spill out.
You'll have to remind me. It's been a very long time. So, Brigid, this first part, or the second part, is called Catastrophe, and I feel like it really connects with me in a lot of ways due to recent events being extremely catastrophic. What about you?
Yeah, this seems kind of not like the worst thing that could happen to your planet right now.
No.
Okay, also, right before we recorded, I finally looked up the Book of Daniel in the King James Version of the Bible, which is, in my opinion, the only good one.
Sure.
Shots fired. No, just kidding. I don't wish to shoot any fires at anyone. So in Daniel 1:4, that's chapter 1, verse 4, the king Nebuchadnezzar asks for the smartest and best children of Israel, skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science. So I feel like this is where the Daniel parallels start in earnest.
Oh, I could see that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. He's like, wants all the, I guess his country has just conquered the Israelites, which is always happening to them.
Sure.
And he's like, but these people aren't just, to be slaves. Some of them seem really smart. Bring those ones. And one of them is Daniel.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
And he he's so good at it that he continues even into the reign of the next king.
So is the king at this point the librarian or the sovereign?
Well, we just don't know, do we?
We don't.
So much is yet to be revealed. I wonder if the number of books of Daniel would give us a clue as to how many books we will need to read. We will get to read.
Oh. In this series, they've said it's going to be 3. And I believe them.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It feels like they've got a lot of work to do to get this story done in 3 books, but that's what they've said.
I hope they are 600 pages each.
Yeah, they've said that they have the last line already written, that it's going to be a trilogy, and again, I trust James S.A. Corey to map out a reasonable roadmap.
Writing the last line first is really smart, and I should probably consider taking that on.
Yeah.
Should we start talking about the worst part of this whole endeavor?
Yeah, let's do this. Let's get it over with. Part 2, Catastrophe, is my least favorite part of this book for obvious reasons, and we will talk about it.
We begin with the customary passage from the last statement of Akur to Klal. Akur tells us that the Carryx do not believe in good and evil. Their guiding principle is this: that which is. We learn that the Carryx have killed or sterilized every member of every species that did not bend to their will. Akur says, when a primitive of your own kind cut a branch from a tree and carved the wood into a tool, you place no moral judgment on the act, nor should you have. What you did with the tree... Wait, can I do the voice I imagined for him?
Yeah, do it.
This is going to be so silly. When a primitive of your own kind cut a branch from a tree and carved the wood into a tool, you place no moral judgment on the act, nor should you have. I don't know. I mentioned this.
It's like the Wicked Witch of the West. But go ahead.
Yeah. So aggrieved all the time, that lady.
Yeah.
And so is Eckhart to Claw. Okay, sorry. That was probably really unpleasant to hear. What you did with the tree branch, we did with you and countless others before you. Why me is not a question the universe ever answers. You dumb apes.
What an incredible line. Why me is not a question the universe ever answers. Really good stuff. I have some thoughts on the general philosophy of the Carryx. Yeah. I have some critiques, some notes to pass along. Because on the one hand, like there is a survival instinct that necessarily includes a competitive drive with other species. Sometimes you will want to kill or maim another living thing in order to vindicate that survival instinct. Some people, animals, eat plants, which are living things. All living things, do attack other species to some extent. And so to some extent, the Carryx are right. But I also think that this is ridiculous bullshit. Like, it is not the same thing. I realize in this episode we're probably going to have a few philosophical discussions about what it means to have a philosophy or any kind of ethos. But accepting this framing that Eckhart to Claw says is like absolutely bananas. Ripping down a branch of a tree is not at all the same thing as murdering, let alone murdering an entire civilization. Even in the sort of hypothetical Hobbesian state of nature that the Carryx seem to exist in, it just isn't. It is not the same thing. Not that humans haven't engaged in genocide or species side or whatever. We absolutely have. But justifying what the Carryx do with that which is, it's a banger line, but it's also a complete abdication of responsibility for all of the atrocities that they commit. I reject the philosophy, Brigid. I reject it. And again, even though I've been saying that which is pretty much nonstop since I read this, and about 15 times a day since the election, it works. It is a nice little saying that I've been repeating to myself a lot.
It's literally, it is what it is.
Right.
But kind of smarter sounding instead of ESPN-y. I agree with you, but I don't think we're right. Or at least I don't think we're right that humans observe the distinction.
Okay.
I think the reason we think we're better than this is because we can't communicate with most of the species that we've destroyed or continue to destroy, or the civilizations that we've crushed. Like, we have no idea how intelligent most of the animals that we've extinctified are, sure, or how much society or civilization they had.
Right.
I mean, you could be destroying entire universes every time you Lysol your counter.
That is true.
But you will never know because we can't talk to them. Because they have not learned English, even though they live in America.
I know. Well, they're gonna, or else they're gonna get deported. Anyway, what we need is one of those Carryx boxes, the translator box.
Yeah!
That's what we need.
See, all truly glorious sci-fi has some kind of babblefish or translator box. You gotta have it. It's the best thing ever. Chapter 7. This chapter is told from the perspective of the Carryx half-minds, and a frickin' lot of stuff happens, so buckle up. It's unclear to me if the half-minds are a species or a technology, but the Carryx use them. Do you feel like it's unclear also?
I think it is unclear. Absolutely. Yeah.
The Carryx use them like artificial intelligence for calculation and information gathering. The half-mind tells us that the 17 Carryx colony ships used something called asymmetric space to travel to the heliosphere containing Anjiin. We also learned what the Carryx are looking for: species who are capable of abstract complexity and able to be removed from their natural environment, and they can also therefore be used in the war effort. The half-mind isn't capable of joy.
Same.
But it is capable of being pleased with itself.
Also same.
for navigating through asymmetric space correctly. It sets about preparing the contents of the 17 Carryx colony ships for the invasion when a signal comes from Anjiin that it was not expecting. You know, they mentioned Lauren Morse again in this chapter. I wonder...
They do.
That guy. Not as ineffectual as he seems in the first chapter ever.
I know.
When the signal does not precipitate violence from Anjiin or any protector, the invasion plan proceeds.
Yeah, there's this little part where the Half Mind notes that if Anjiin had a protector, this is when they would appear. And I think that is probably real important to the main story. It implies that other places have protectors. It also plays into my extremely correct theory about what is happening in this book and what is happening with Anjiin that I am going to go into detail on the next episode. So yes, buckle up. But I think that's a really important little nugget that they were sort of looking for a protector.
Yeah, very interesting. 3 species that we will get to know better soon are introduced: Rockhound, Sinan, and Soft Lothark. These, as well as Carryx soldiers, are the invasion guard. Stage 1 of the invasion is a net of nodes that encircles the planet, frame locking with the surface. With this network of nodes, the Half-Mind is able to gather the information it needs to communicate with the sentient species of Anjiin. The Half-Mind watches as the governments panic and attempt to communicate, noting that the species is chaotic and disorganized.
True.
Nailed it. Tag us next time. Military forces on the planet attempt a missile launch, which the Carryx disable with discharges from the nodes, and then the node network destroys every missile launch-capable military base on the planet. Quote, "It was no more an attack than a singer clearing her throat" is a song.
Fucking incredible line, right?
Chills. In the next stage of the invasion, the Half-Mind maps every living human on the planet, noting a couple thousand ambiguous signals.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the ambiguous signals. Let's talk about some theories about what those ambiguous signals could be. What was your suggestion?
I thought it could be more swarms.
I love that idea. Yeah.
What else could it be?
I don't know, because it's a very
People
specific...
in comas?
It's a very specific number. Oh, that could be, like...
Oh yeah, it is a really specific number, though.
I mean, they said, well, it's a very specific number of people, and maybe the signals are, maybe like somebody who is about to be born or being born at the time or dying at the time or brain dead or something like that. Or I like the idea that there could be additional swarms out there. I like that a lot.
I do too. Thank you. The confirmed humans are then divided into 8 groups. I mean, so why do we think that's possible? Because we'll get into it next episode?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I keep them always wanting more.
Yep.
The confirmed humans are then divided into 8 groups. Voice echoes in the ear of every living human. It actually, I don't know why I put that in my summary because it specifically says it doesn't echo, but they hear it. They hear it one time. You are, individually and collectively, under the authority of the Carryx. You have been measured, and your place within the moieties will now be determined. Heavy metal intro riff. Okay, chapter 8. We're inside of Noel and Cinnea's house. Noel is not sure if there's been an attack. It's possible someone has just made a terrible mistake. Oh, Nolly baby.
Yeah.
As he's on the video phone with Else, he must admit to himself that it has indeed been an attack. Else is trying to get him and Cinnea to the basement of her arcology. She's quite frantic about it, but Noel doesn't much see the point. Surely, he thinks, if the aliens wanted us dead, we would be dead. His call with Else ends, and then the communication infrastructure is too overwhelmed for him to call his brother, which he debates this in the most, engineer-ass way, where he's like, it's also possible not to make the call. Yeah, buddy, it's always possible to not do something. So he goes outside to work in the garden with Cinnea. They discuss whether to go to Elsa's apartment, but Noel is hesitant to be stuck underground in a bunker with Tanner Fries. Same. Noel goes about Noel goes about pulling weeds. Some of the weeds are from his own tree of life, and some are native to Anjiin, and he thinks to himself that he's killing them. Interesting.
Yeah. It's just like a fantastic little callback to the occur to claw bit to start this part about, you know, weeding or breaking, pulling out, you know, vegetation. I mean, but like, so like this is a really nice. These guys are good with the grace notes that he's weeding here. It's also foreshadowing that he's about to be weeded out.
Yes. He's manipulating plant life for his own purposes when he has no idea how the plants feel about it.
Yep.
Nor does he care. Cinia, really going through it, delivers unto Noel a precise and heartfelt sentence, which is what you had called out. That's so cute. It's like, it has been a pleasure being with you.
Yeah.
Oh. And he agrees. It has been a pleasure being with her also. Then the terrible and otherworldly voice comes from the sky announcing that they are now under the control of the Carryx and that 1/8 of the population will be killed. Unfortunately, Noel is that 1 in 8. Something like a dart strikes his neck and he collapses.
Yeah, just a note here, the half mind indicates that what kills Noel is a being of semi-consciousness. It's born specifically to kill one person and then it dies. So it's an animal of violence in and of itself, just like the Rakans and the Cynon and the Soft Lotharks. What I think is interesting about this is that we learn later that they hate manufactured life.
Or at least Ekur does.
Yes, that's a good point. He calls them perversions. Manufactured life, designed life is perversions, is the line later on. So I think it's more likely that the Carryx captured and domesticated these little killer bees on a swarm and uses them as sort of like disposable bullets, which is, fucked up. It's fucked up.
Yes.
But I am really glad that Noel and Cinia got that moment where they said to each other that they enjoyed their time together. And
yeah,
it's nice. It's bad for any, person who is saying that in a narrative fiction because they're about to die. But I'm glad that they got that point.
Yeah. Okay, smash cut to Campar zipping through the city in a transport. Things have gotten chaotic on the streets as people try to evacuate. Campar had been holed up at Elsa's arcology until it became clear that Noel and Cinia wouldn't come to safety until they were brought, and Campar volunteered, not thinking twice, because that's what you do in a crisis. But now that he's on the road, he's having major doubts about getting back safely. The transport keeps going over bumps, and lights are falling from the sky by the thousands. Campar arrives at their house, only to learn that Noel is dead. He gathers up Cinia, and they get into his transport. On the way back to Elsa's building, they see what we will later learn is a raccoon, a giant centipede of bone knives. Their vehicle breaks down, and they attempt to make it on foot. Campar loses Cinia, which is just as well, because he then finds himself face-to-face with these furry square things with long arms and legs that tell him they're the soft Lothark, and they're there to kidnap him. Then they knock him the fuck out.
I was so worried at this point that they had killed Campar. I was totally going to rage quit or whatever.
Yeah.
How dare you touch my sweet boy.
Not our sweet cheese, our good time boy. Yeah, I also totally was like, well, there goes another one.
Yeah.
Chapter 9 opens on a Squid Games type scenario where David and many other people are lying prone, arms outspread, in an open-air jail. David notes that the fence doesn't look like it was made on Anjiin, meaning the Carryx knew ahead of time what size and type of being they would be conquering. Anjiin wasn't just stumbled upon, it was selected.
Yeah, I love this bit. He mentions something like understanding was his only entertainment and also the only way to feel any power. Having any power at all was the comforting self-delusion that he clung to. And this is like great characterization because how many people would immediately go into shock? The people are described as having gone into shock. Jessen basically shuts down entirely. Or other people are in a state of disbelief. He talks to this woman who is like saying, wake up, wake up, wake up. And, other people just sort of like disassociate into oblivion. And instead, David is striving to figure out what is going on as a method of trying to gain even a tiny bit of control over the situation. And I think that's really nice.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. It's really subtle character building. And I love that he mentions not just that it's to feel a sense of control, but it's also for entertainment, because for him, boredom is worse than physical discomfort.
Sure.
Although he is also physically very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We learn that it has taken 5 days of war for the Carryx to capture Anjiin. The Carryx are described as like giant cockroaches or shrimp with 8 limbs. In that 5 days, Daffod hasn't been home to change or bathe, and he is feeling ripe. This is the least of his discomforts, though. He also has to piss so bad his eyes are turning yellow. Daffod sees, and he's lying face down, so like it's just pushing on it.
Yep.
Daffod sees other prisoners stomped to death by the Rockhounds. Any wrong move might get him killed. The invaders are not patient or compassionate, so he doesn't ask if he can go pee. He's been separated from the rest of the team and doesn't know their fates. While he's laying there needing to pee, the Irvian security forces attempt to attack the prison. This all happened so fast I had to read it like 4 times to be like, they did what now?
Yeah.
Because it seems so clear that they're so like outmatched.
Yeah.
But they just keep trying. Anyway, so they attempt to attack the prison, and the attack ends like 2 minutes later with the human soldiers reduced to red mush and mist. Daffod decides to wait some more for his potty break. But shortly, a cuttlefish goat creature approaches, identifies itself as a Cynon, and takes Daffod with it. Finally, Daffod is allowed to go pee, and he gives himself a little pit wipe. And he notices that he's grateful for it and is ashamed of feeling grateful to his captors. When he's done, the goat thing keeps him moving, but does not answer any questions. Daffod is brought to a large space that he thinks might be part of a transport where he is thrilled to find Campar. I was also thrilled for him to find Campar.
Yeah.
I think I texted you, Campar!
Yeah. He's still there.
Not dead. He looks like his last 5 days have been at least as rough as Daffod's. Daffod wants to catch up, but all he can think to ask is, what's going on? And then Campar hits us with one of my favorites of his lines. I think some important scientific questions have Actually, will you read it in your Campar voice?
Sure.
Yes.
I think some important scientific questions have finally been answered. Alien life exists, and they are assholes.
Yes. Well done, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Incredible line. No notes.
Now we go into chapters 10 and 11. These 2 chapters capture the unrelenting misery of this transport container. We're now in Jessen's point of view. The lighting is orange, like sodium streetlights. It's cold. The ceiling is a bit too low. The walls are a yucky texture. No matter which sense you use, you experience discomfort. There are 200 people there already, and more are being brought in groups by the soft Lothark. As each group comes in, they check for anyone they might know. Jessen and Else. Jessen is really worried about Gellet. She hopes against hope that he's safe and free. He's not in the next group to come in, but a man named Urus Austencourt is, from the security force. Urus is immediately bossy, demanding that Jessen give her name and work group. He then informs her that it seems the Carryx are extracting the top of Anjiin. He's also ascertained that they will have food, water, and the ability to relieve themselves while in transit to wherever they're going. Still no shower, though. Jessen does not reveal to Urus that she has her psychiatric medication with her. She can't afford to share. If she runs out, she'll likely go through withdrawals, after which she'll have to raw dog mental illness in an alien spaceship.
That would be hard. That'd be hard.
It would be so hard. Just the coldness on top of the brain zaps would be brutal. And then Cinia shows up. She's fucking pissed about Noel's death. She's angry and has little hope or reason to live. Super good mental state for being trapped in a room with 300 other people.
Yeah. Cinia says, after talking about Noel, she's like, I've been trying not to think about the 7 people Noel died for. And the good news, Cinia, is that it's you, Daffod, Tanner, Campar, Irina, Jessen, and Ricker. That's who Noel died for. Else isn't a person at this point, so she doesn't play into it. They don't play into it.
That's true, but also the Carryx must think she is a person.
Yeah.
They would have been like, ambiguous signal, disregard. Any hoodle. Eventually, Campar and Daffod Alcor, who Jessen always refers to by first and last name, also arrive. Else, Campar, and Jessen review the known facts of their situation. Cinia has nothing positive to contribute whatsoever. Daffod, on the other hand, is very irritatingly going on and on about the Carryx. Like, all this guy thinks about is understanding the Carryx. Jesson is like, who cares? Then they shift into asymmetric space and their memories invert. Jesson experiences the shift as though she's remembering it and experiencing it in reverse order. It's not as fun as it sounds.
Doesn't sound like it.
It's even less fun than it sounds.
Yeah.
Cut to the swarm.
Yes.
Getting its bearings after... I'm never going to stop doing that. Sorry,
Please
everyone.
don't. Yep.
Getting its bearings after successfully boarding one of the 17 city-sized colony ships. We learn that the swarm can feel both relaxed and anxious. Unlike regular humans, the swarm is enjoying its time on Carryx Airlines. There is no information to gather in the holding cell and no more danger of being left behind on Anjiin. This is vacation, baby. All it has to do is successfully blend with the humans, and everyone's acting so weird from all the trauma that the swarm fits right in. The swarm fits right in.
I think that this is the first time we learn for sure that the swarm is not working on behalf of the Carryx, but is like actively working against them. And I think that's a nice little bit. Yeah. Kind
of a relief. These chapters are so unpleasant that like everything is a relief.
It is a
little.
I remember feeling relieved. That's a really good point. I remember feeling relieved because I was like, the Carryx are so powerful, so omnipresent. Right. To learn that there was some sort of advanced, society out there actively opposing them was like oh good,
Yeah, it was like, oh, there might be hope. The swarm tells us that it has already gathered information that will be of use to its makers. Once it gets off this ship, it will find a way to transmit that information and whatever else it can learn. It also treats itself to burning the host's metabolism a little extra hard for the simple animal comfort of being warm in a cold place, which is unfortunate because that means the host has to eat more nutrient paste.
Yeah.
When we switch back to Jesson, it has been a few weeks. Things are starting to get gross in the holding bay. They're pooping on a mat in front of each other and eating brown nutrient paste from a trough.
Ooh, so the poop mats are by far the most horrifying part of this book and the story so far. I can deal with literally everything else, but I cannot wait until I never ever have to think about the poop mats ever again.
Maybe at the end of this episode, it will be time for that.
Yep.
Nobody has a tampon. They're actually having to tear off pieces of the mat.
It's gross. Oh my God.
Hopefully right when it gets put down. And not after use. Oh my God, we have to stop. Okay. People are going cuckoo. People are screaming. There's been a couple fights. Urisasenkur collects everyone's shoelaces and asks Cinia to help him braid it into a rope for security. And then Campar is like pretty into that because Uris is hot.
Campar's like, oh, if only for a different context. Which means he's into BDSM, which good for him. Good for him. Yeah.
Daffod is shocked. I think it's Daffod that's like, you can't be serious. And Campar is like...
Yeah, it's one of my favorite lines. Of course I am. It's how I keep from spending all day screaming. What do you do? Good stuff.
Yeah, really rich of Daffod to be judging him for getting horned. All right, so Jesson is reflecting on how nasty and disease-ridden the holding bay is getting when she notices Daffod and Ulse canoodling. Jesson is like, hey, whatever gets you through the nightmare of time, space, and bodily humiliation. The juxtaposition of intimacy and filth is unsettling, and I can only be explained by the swarm's vacay mindset. Jesson is counting her... Anything goes. Jesson is counting her pills to keep track of the days and also keeping track of the days to know when to take her pills. Not a great system. However, she reflects that at least no one is demanding sexual favors in exchange for access to food, and there's been surprisingly little violence. Cinia then informs Jesson that she is part of a group organized by Urisasenkur, the man Jesson met at the beginning of her captivity. Its goal, beat one of the soft Lothark jailers to death and escape the holding bay. Chapter 11.
Great.
We're back with Daffod now. He, Else, Jesson, and Campar agree that the escape plan is insane. Even if they succeed in killing one of the aliens, where will they go after that? They'll still be trapped in an enemy spaceship. I guess it's not that. I feel like even if this exact thing happened on Earth, Americans would argue about whether these were aliens or somehow not aliens, somehow from Earth. I feel like Americans would somehow argue that these aren't aliens. But they're just going for it. They're like, these are aliens. I mean, they came from space.
They're Democrats. It, like controlling the weather and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So even if they succeed in killing one of the aliens, where will they go after that? They'll still be trapped on an enemy spaceship. Although, as Campar says, don't ignore the siren song of not dying in the same room as the shit-covered Matt. Daffod... Try as a martini. Daffod is especially against the planned uprising because it risks the lives of all of them, not just those who revolt.
I like the bit where Daffod argues that the reason he doesn't want to go through with the escape plan or whatever is because if he were the kind of thing that would do what the Carryx had done, he would just vent the hold to serve and kill everyone to serve as an example to everyone else. And there's a nice little part where Campar's like, why would you even think of that? And David's like, I'm just trying to put myself in their head.
Yeah.
And it's like a nice way to build David's character as someone who, as we talked about last time, is not a good guy necessarily, or an all good guy.
Right. Yeah, he's kind of being set up to be the only one that's really even trying to see what... It's kind of that thing, don't stare into the abyss because it'll stare into you. It's like he understands the enemy so well that he's like starting... He might and start to justify the means more when you put yourself in the mind of the enemy more.
That's a good point.
We don't know because that's definitely not covered in this chapter, if at all, by the end of the book. Okay, Else offers to talk to Ossincur, and while she's gone, the other three talk about what home is now and whether they're ever going back. Else brings Cinia back to the work group, but the little uprising takes place anyway, and Cinia joins it. She helps hold down the soft Lothark, while Ossincur beats it to death. Daffod tries to stop the attack, which puts him within range of the hallucinogenic toxin the alien spews as it dies. Daffod lies poisoned on the floor in terrible pain, and witnesses the other two soft Lothark eating the body of the one that died. It is so stomach-churning the way it is described.
Yeah.
Masterfully gross.
It's something like out of their mouths came tongues or tentacles or something like that, and they were lapping up the goo. Gross.
Then after they eat the remains, another one brings in a fresh mat, and Daffod succumbs to poison for several days. When he wakes up, Else is tending to him. She informs him that the most humiliating imaginable fate has occurred. He has been shitting himself so bad that they had to throw away his pants, and she was helping wipe his butt after. She also tells him that a couple of people have died, but not in retribution for the attack. One person reacted badly to the poison, and one had a heart condition or some shit. Elswarm heats their skin up to warm Daffod, and he tries not to get a boner. Ah, youth.
This is probably the first real hint that the swarm has taken Else specifically.
Yes, because everyone else is freaking cold.
Right, and earlier the swarm had talked about warming her skin up.
Yeah. Next, Daffod tells the repulsive story of Little Dot, wherein a beetle eats its own tummy fat as it dies. The point being, things that aren't human don't have human emotions or logic. Their goals in any given situation won't be our own. Daffod says his pathological move is always trying to see the other guy's point of view. And can I just say that achieving any level of horniness in this place is remarkable to me, especially when you know that your own butt is crusty with poops.
Yeah, it is incredible. Good for Daffod, I suppose.
I don't care how hot Else is.
Yeah, I don't either. Although, do you think that boning the swarm feels like extra good? You know? Does it count as group sex? Is it tingly in a different way? I don't know.
It can probably make it feel like anything.
Yeah, right?
And I bet it gets better as the swarm's body count goes up.
Hey!
In both... Hey-o. That's a great segue into a question I have about the swarm. How did its makers give it this reasoning and wisdom without... it has a very adult way of thinking, but it has no experience. Not that adults are wise, but there's like children or things that are innocent or free of experience reason through things in a totally different way than adults who've had a lifetime of experience. And the swarm's thinking to me is very adult. And it even says it's traded experience for innocence. But it already was thinking kind of, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how did they make it so smart without making it smart?
I do know what you're saying, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, and I think that's an interesting question.
Listen up, Ty Frank. He's not listening. Okay. We switch back to Jessen's point of view. I mean, I was going to say, listen up, answer this question, please, in the next 3 books. But he's not listening, so he probably won't if he wasn't planning to already. We switch back to Jessen's point of view and learn that Cinia is basically in a coma until Urus Ossincur comes by. He first of all takes credit for the water sop Jessen brought, and then gives Cinia a pep talk / damage control talk where he basically calls her a brave little soldier. Oh, I hate him so much. Cinia is disappointed that it isn't all over. Things just seem to keep getting worse.
There's this nice little part at the end of this chapter where it mentions that sort of like an impromptu choir has developed in the room, and that's just like a very human thing, is like, things are terrible, so let's sing through it. I really like that.
That's, to me, very realistic to humans.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of the nice flip side of us thinking we can fight our way out of anything. And that there's always hope. Okay, chapter 12. It's been an unknown number of weeks in the unrelenting cold orange hell of the transport bay, but at last the journey is over. We see the inversion of time again, this time through Daffod's point of view, and then the craft docks at the World City. Ebony ziggurats the size of mountains, red and gold tree light forests at the bases, etc. It's a bit cosmic horror, I must say. Even so, we and Daffod are all relieved to not be in the cargo bay of misery anymore.
Yeah, there's a part where Daffod, as they're leaving the bay, or the ship, says, Daffod took Elsa's hand with his right, Campar's with his left. So, Daffod Alcor, a bisexual king. Good for him.
We stan. The fivesome is then presented to a Carryx who appears to be upper management. They are taught the proper way to show submission to a Carryx, prone, arms splayed to either side. They're also shown what happens when you don't. You get mystified by those mana shrimp legs. Also, the management Carryx is way bigger than the soldier Carryxes. A soft Lothark takes them to their bus stop and directs them to stay put. Daffod remarks that they never had a chance. I like the soft Lothark. They're so silly. They get, I picture just this like kind of bizarro monkey just being like, please just stay here. My job's on the line.
Yeah.
Don't wander off.
I think later we hear about a high Lothark or something, and I just hope that there are just like several different kinds of Lotharks. There's like a sparkly Lothark. There's like a sarcastic Lothark.
Do you think the high Lothark is like
hey,
that kind?
Choke it up, baby.
Yeah, 420. I want just the Wikipedias about all of these species.
1,000%. I want to know everything.
Yes. Okay. Daffod remarks that they never had a chance. He's like looking out at all the ziggurats, and buildings the size of mountains. It's freaking crazy.
Right.
And he says they never had a chance, but it doesn't matter. They would have fought back anyway because humans never stop trying. Else agrees that there is always hope, but not always for what we want. The group is given a weird little apartment block with various clues that the Carryx understands humans, but not that well. Jessen is struggles to funk. She reckons, based on her medication, that they were in transit for 6 weeks.
Oh my god, struggles to funk, amazing. Yeah, she says specifically 6 weeks and a lifetime. I like that note. There's also the part where she's like, the new place has colors, and I'm glad about that. And she feels grateful about it. And then she gets angry at herself for feeling grateful. Like, that's going to be, I think, a recurring theme because we've heard that from Daffod and Jessen.
It's so great seeing mostly Daffod's point of view contrasted with Jessen's because their reactions to this are so different. Like, the two polar extremes of the group is Daffod's, like, very, like, curious, terrified but curious and open, and like, how can we get an advantage, and like, how can we avoid getting killed? He's very focused on not getting killed.
Yep.
Which no one else seems to be. Maybe Campar a little bit, but everyone else is just like not acting rationally and really not faring to, like, their intellect is suffering a lot from the trauma.
Yep.
And I feel like Daffod is kind of compartmentalizing more, and Jesson is not only being traumatized but also dealing with her already shaky mental health, and like the anxiety of knowing you won't get any more of your medication can make you crazy in and of itself. And then tapering also, like, it sounds like she's on, to me it sounds like, and maybe this is projection because this is also what I have, that she has major depression and has the medication to keep her from bottoming out. And like withdrawing from that medication or tapering is like you're bottoming out because your mental illness is coming back, and you're bottoming out because your brain is trying to figure out how to like feebly make more serotonin.
Yeah.
So you're having all the, it's like the desire to avoid that is very strong.
Yeah. I can imagine, like, it sounds like SSRIs, right? Like an SSRI withdrawal is
a real thing that sucks ass. She needs to talk herself into bathing, relatable, and says 2 lines that I will be repeating to myself whenever I need them. You're always a fucking mess. It never stopped you before. And then something Jellet told her, which is time to be unrealistic. So she forces herself into the shower, and we learn that the showers spray red liquid cleanser, which makes her scream. I love it. I love picturing people screaming in surprise. Not in pain, that's sad, but surprise is funny. But also it comes with a razor, comb, toothbrush, and naturally a spoon.
Sure.
It reminds me of Demolition Man.
Yes.
With the shells.
With the shells.
After Jesson's shower, Tanner and Arena arrive. Jesson is like, roller skates, love triangle, couldn't be me. I'm only in love with one person, and she's not in love with me back, that I know of. We switch to Tanner's POV, and he is an irritable fucking baby.
He is.
He wants to demand... Oh, his point of view is so, like, so annoying in this chapter. Okay. He wants to demand that Elle sleep in his room, but magnanimously decides not to pick a fight. Then, a Carryx brings the ghost of Rakar, and the group is complete minus Noel. It's not really a ghost, it's him, but he looks like shit.
Yeah.
The Carryx offers them what it understands to be the customary condolences for Noel's passing. This is where I was like, I love them. Because he was like, I understand that it is customary to offer sympathy.
Yeah.
I don't actually feel sympathy, you understand. But you can pretend that I do if it makes you feel better.
It's great. I do want to note that, like, they say something about Ricker was wearing the remnants of one of his saucy jackets. So at least he gets to be, you know, just a little bit more fashionable than everyone else.
He loves jackets. Yeah. They come up again later when he's like missing home. He's like, I wish I just had a cool jacket.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him. Ricard is always right. Okay, the Carryx offers them what it understands to be the customary condolences for Noel's passing. Jesson asks it a bunch of questions. Instead of answering, it says, I am Tixan of the cohort Malcolm, and I have been made keeper librarian of your moiety, it said, saying, for the moiety's usefulness is survival. I am here to help you succeed and survive. Curtain.
That's it. That's it for this part.
What do you say? Drop curtain? Curtains? Curtain call?
Curtains
roll
fall.
credits?
Yeah, something
curtains
like
fall.
That. Roll credits.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's the end of an episode, right? So it's like...
Yeah.
So you get the credits. Yeah, roll credits. So...
Ooh, do you think this could be a TV show? Or would it be too corny?
I don't know. I think it would be... I mean, they need to... First of all, hire us as consultants. But second of all...
They can't make another mistake like they did when they cast someone so tiny to be Amos Burton.
Yeah.
He's so short.
Yeah, but he's...
I'm sorry, I love you, Wes Chatham.
He's so hot and so ripped. So, I mean, it makes sense.
It's fine.
As long as they hire Coleman Domingo to be Campar and
yeah,
literally
okay.
Whatever else. Yeah, like, you hit it at the beginning. This is absolutely the roughest part of this book. Like, just tons of horror and nausea and things that are designed to make us uncomfortable as we read it. And, like, I am glad that we're past it. Like, I'm glad that we've gotten this episode done. But this is the part of the story that, even though I didn't love it, it's definitely my least favorite part of the book. That's the point. and it hit me as to what kind of story we're reading here. It's about War of the Worlds, sure, but like we said last time, it is not Independence Day. It is not a rah-rah story. This is a story that sort of demands that we feel unsettled and upset and disoriented and disgusted, and that's what we got in this part, and we got it over and over and over again. I mean, I remember reading it the first time and being like, dude, if the whole book is like this, I don't know if I can handle it.
Me too.
And luckily it's not. There's still some horror that we're going to experience as we go forward, but it's nothing like this. So, yeah.
This is, I think in my first reading, this is where you thought I probably had just given up, because I just didn't, I texted you like, oh, the Staffy character, interesting. And then I just didn't text you about it for like a month, because I was like, I can't get through this. What if it's all like this? And I am someone who reads a lot of Russian literature, so like I would have pushed through eventually, but it just was, I was like, this is not sparking joy. I was also very relieved, like Daffod, to get out of the shipping container, and the world city struck me. I loved seeing it through his eyes, because it also, like, it is, I feel like Justin was probably like, I don't fucking care where we are. I'm not looking around. I just want to get somewhere that I can like be alone.
Sure.
And Daffod was like, wow, look at these big buildings and look where we are. Well, this is pretty cool, but also scary. And I felt the same as him, where I was like so happy to hopefully never think about this shit mad again, that I was like, I like these ziggurats. I want to know what's inside them. And the scope of it really gave me like the Lovecraftian willies, like the cosmic horror.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like the scope, the bigness.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about it's very Lovecraftian, this idea, like the color out of space is a different story, but it gives the same vibe, where it's like, this is beyond your comprehension and beyond anything, any type of horror that you can imagine. What if Cthulhu had a fucking army of Cthulhus?
What if Cthulhu had an army of invisible bees?
Yeah. It's bad, right? Like,
it's very scary.
So yeah, this is
brutal.
So I wanted to hit on some foreshadowing and some interesting little tidbits. Your summary was great. I fucking loved it.
Thank you.
I just did a reread of this part and a re-listen. And one of the things that stuck out to me was that Campar, when he's racing to Nolan Cineas, he thinks of Ogden, the World Father. That's Ogdun, the World Father, with research assistants on his shoulders instead of crows. And that stuck out to me the first time I read it. Sticks out to me every single time, because that's Odin. That's Odin.
Yeah.
So like, but they don't know that that's from Earth, and they get it wrong, right? Like,
they don't know where.
Yeah.
Yes. That's spooky too.
It's interesting. It plays into my very correct theory that we're going to talk about next time. But I think it's really interesting that they have these echoes of human culture. In the last part, we didn't really hit on it last episode, but they talk about the creation myths for Anjiin, and they're very similar to the creation myths back on Earth. There's one about a flood. There's one about like a bird that carries them or whatever. And then there's one about like a rift in time and stuff like that. And like it's very similar to the creation myths that we tend to have. So I just like that little Ogden, the World Father.
I like it a lot too, because it makes you wonder. I have two things that it makes me wonder. One, when is this happening in comparison to now? Sure. Because now, like in current Earth, Norse mythology is a dead religion, basically. I mean, there's some people like revivalists that practice it, but it wasn't an extant religion in Scandinavia for like 500 years as of now. Sure. So whenever this is happening, it may have been an extinct religion for like 3,000 years. So doesn't that kind of also imply that maybe this maybe they were given like a notebook? Maybe
they were just really into the MCU. Right? It could be.
Yeah. So much more likely than what I was thinking. Like that maybe they were sent there with like a record.
They really liked Anthony Hopkins as Odin, right?
Who doesn't? It's
Right.
perfect casting.
A plus.
It's one thing you can say about the MCU, they're good at casting. Also, I feel bad that I said something bad about the show. I love the show. They didn't make any mistakes. It's perfect.
It's okay. Nobody's listening to this, but I appreciate that. Thank you for clearing that up. You texted me this, and I'm just going to ask the question back at you. Do we care? So in this part, it mentions faster than light travel as traveling through asymmetric space. That's what they say. That's what the Carryx do later.
Yeah, they do it somehow with like a little bubble of gravity.
Yeah. Yeah, later in Live Suit, this is the one Live Suit spoiler, I guess. It talks about the human way of doing it, and it's called brain slip, which is BRANE slip, not brain like in your head. And so the question is, do we care about the mechanics of either asymmetric space or brain slips?
The answer is no.
Yeah, I don't care.
I looked up the word brain, and it led me on a interesting to me Wikipedia journey about string theory. And then I came up with some really rough theories as to what they could be and which, and like how, and then I was like, actually, I don't care. This doesn't matter at all. This has nothing to do, like, this could be anything. He could be like, they were riding on a magic carpet through space-time, and it just doesn't freaking affect this particular story. Like, the mechanics of stuff in The Expanse, I think, did add to the storytelling, but not this. This is a biology story, not a physics story.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, I recently read the Three Body Problem trilogy. I know there's a name for the trilogy. I just forget what it is.
Remembrances of Earth's Past.
That's right. That's
a horrible title.
That's right. Well, and, apologies for any of our listeners who might have liked that trilogy. I thought it was fucking terrible. And part of the reason why it was terrible was because dude would spend pages and pages and chapters talking about the theoretical physics of how to do, in addition to faster than light travel, all sorts of different things in space and theoretical physics. And I don't fucking care. I don't read books so that I can learn about what people are theorizing about how to do, or I don't read fiction, this type of fiction, to learn about these kind of abstract theories that apparently aren't really all that real anyway. I mean, obviously they're not real, they're theoretical, but they're like, not even grounded in anything real. So anyway, I really hated Three Body Problem, like the series, which I finished, and it was a chore because every single time it was like, we need to go into nauseating detail about how faster than light travel happens. And I don't fucking care. I get that some people are really interested in sci-fi for that reason. I am not that person. So, like you said, if they just said, yeah, we pushed a button and all of a sudden we're doing faster than light, fantastic, wonderful, great. That's the story that they have, I think, chosen to write. And I really hope that they just sort of hand wave away a bunch of stuff. They kind of, we'll get to it going forward, like the atmosphere that all of these different species are breathing is the same, right?
Yeah.
And it might affect some of, they talk about how it affects the night triggers, but like, they don't go into a great detail about like, well, we put a certain mix of particular chemicals in the air to make sure that it's like, no, I don't care. It's everybody breathes and everybody, you have the box so everybody can speak English. Cool. That's the story.
Yeah. The hand waving is something that fans of hard sci-fi hate. Hate. And I understand that is something that people want, but I think it's annoying to ask it of every sci-fi story, especially one, like, I think it's okay to use science as we understand it in some aspects. Like, they use a lot of known evolutionary principles when they're talking about the different species. And I don't think that means that the physics also has to be good. I don't care about that. I do really like the way they describe, like, I like it in a cosmic horror sense where you're like, whoa, space and time are like shifting in a weird way. It's making me feel like everything's upside down. Like, I love that aspect. That's something I really loved about Live Suit, is the descriptions of brain slip and how it affects like time, and whether time is like a surface or a, what is it? Is it a flat circle, like the man said? But I do not care. Like, that's all just like fun to be creeped out by. I don't really need to know if, I don't know. I don't need to know anything else about it.
Yeah, I agree. That's me. So, Brigid, do you think that this prison planet, the world city, as you put it, with the ziggurats, is where the Carryx came from, or something else?
Something else. I think the ziggurats are research facilities for their different conquests, and that all the things that need the same shit are in the same ziggurat.
I think you're right. I think that's right. I don't know for sure, but
I hope we learn so much more about this planet or wherever they are.
Yeah.
Oh, so this planet also has a network of nodes, but they're defense nodes.
That's right.
But also, it's maybe the whole planet is a prison.
It's like that Postal Service song. Sure. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it is a prison planet, a research planet. It's
like
good.
This isn't where the Carryx even live. It's just a zoo for them.
Yeah, that's right. It's like we learn later when Occur-to-Claw gets reclassified as a librarian or a keeper librarian as opposed to a different kind of librarian, that he's kind of pissed because he's got to spend time amongst the animals. But like it also, probably like this is like sending people to Siberia. Where you're like, fuck.
Yes.
I gotta go all in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, there's not even any good Chinese food out there, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. He's far away from the central thing. Although, later, I mean, we'll keep talking about what we think this place is, because the Sovereign also isn't too far away from here.
That's true. But I wonder if the Sovereign was just visiting, or maybe not. Maybe not. That's a good point.
They've got FTL travel, so she or it could be living anywhere.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know, to sort of put a bow on this, like, I think that this part of the story is intentionally upsetting, but it does serve the purpose of setting the expectations for the rest of the story. And I think that, getting through it, once you get through it, you sort of have this like, okay, now I'm ready to figure out what's actually happening and to deal with a new reality. And so I understand and appreciate why they put this part in, but I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, everything after this feels even more fun and fast paced, given how bad this part sucked.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody. Think that was fun. Come back next time when we cover part 3, puzzles. It's like Wordle, but they're allowed to say penis.
They are. Do they say penis?
I don't know if they do, but they're allowed.
They're allowed to. That's right. She's Brigid. I'm Clint. We're the Mercy of Pods. You can follow us on Buzzsprout, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also send us an email at themercyofpods@gmail.com, or follow us on socials at The Mercy of Pods. Our logo is by Matt House. Nice guy. Do you know him?
I know him pretty well, yeah.
Good dude.
He's a good fella.
The music at the beginning and the end is Push the Button by Sid Luscious in the Pants, available wherever you get your music. So join us next time. We're doing puzzles.
Okay. Bye.
Push the button.